Hey guys, it's Tommy CM, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of Let's Build Alton Towers. This is going to be an episode that a lot of people have been waiting for, and I've had a lot of comments saying I can't wait to see you attempt to build this, etc. This is going to be the episode where I attempt, at least, I'm hoping it turns out well, I don't know at this point obviously, attempt to build Wicker Man. Now, Wicker Man is a GCI wooden coaster that was built and opened only as recently as 2018. It was kind of the latest big attraction to go into the park, and it will sit just where I'm showing you right now. It was the first wooden coaster in the UK in about 22 years. And it was the first wooden coaster to incorporate fire. Now, those of you out there who are aware of the dangers of wood and fire, you did hear that correctly. There is fire involved, but obviously it's all safe. It's all above board. So yeah, I think without further ado, let's begin making Wicker Man. Right then. Here is Wicker Man in all its glory. Obviously not fully themed yet. I have started to theme. I've got the first little tunnel section down here underway, but I won't show you too much in detail until it's all fully done. But yeah, no, I've got the main construction pretty much laid out, and I'm fairly happy with it. I might just adjust the height differences on this lift hill. Essentially, the lift hill goes up quite steep, and then it kind of levels out a little bit as it goes up. But looking at it from this angle, it looks fairly steep. And believe it or not, I've looked at this 100 times, and every time I've looked at it, I thought, yeah, that looks all right. And then I've looked at it now, and I think maybe a bit too steep. So yeah, it's one of them things. You're always going to not be happy with something. But yeah, I think overall I'm pretty happy with it. So essentially, you come up, you go into a little tunnel just here as you come on the first drop. You go through into another tunnel, and you come down and around the bend here, go up, and then this is where you first go through the Wicker Man itself on the first section. You come around here. Now the queue line kind of sits underneath this section. It's quite an interactive area for the guests when they're queuing up. You come back through the Wicker Man itself. Go down, round, up the top, and it starts to kind of level out here. So then you come all the way back round, down, and then you go through the Wicker Man for a third time. Ignore that. That's my Wicker Man sign, which you'll see later on. Yeah, then you come through the Wicker Man for a third time, round the bend. Then this time you go under the track and up, and then you go into the brake run at the end, and then you go along here and down through what is a maintenance tunnel. So this is where the transfer track is for Wicker Man. It's quite hidden because this bit is all in pretty much complete darkness. But yeah, so you go through here and then back into the station. So yeah, that's my layout for Wicker Man. If we have a look at a bird's eye view of it there, if I kind of just get that at an angle there, now I will hopefully remember to put up a bit of a screenshot just so you can see the layout on the bird's eye view of the coaster, and it will show you that I'm pretty much there with it, and I'm quite happy with how this is how I've kind of done it. It isn't the most straightforward. There's a lot of bends to get right, and also the speed. Now, when I first built this coaster, the coaster wasn't getting round at all. In order to get it round, I've dropped the friction down to 0.4, and then it seems to get round with a bit more speed, because otherwise it was just crawling round. But it's just that is just part of the part of the sort of physics of the game, really. Yeah, no, I am really happy with it, and I'm gonna enjoy or hate. I'll soon find out. Theming the rest of the coaster. I've got a bit of a surprise with the Wicker Man itself. I will explain that shortly. But yeah, there's all sorts. There's the whole queue line, which is all going to be custom fencing, which kind of goes all the way around the back of the ride and down. around this section and out to the front. So the queue line's a lot to do. There's a shop, there's the maintenance tunnel, there's the 2 tunnels up here that we've talked about, there's all the surrounding area, there's an access road. There is a lot to be done. It's not an easy, straightforward or quick build, but it's going to be worth it in the end, and everything will be alright. That's what I keep telling myself anyway. But yeah, see you again in a moment. Okay, so I have finished theming Wicker Man, and before we take a look at it, I want to welcome a special guest for this little section. So welcome Tommy P. How are you, Tommy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Now, the reason I've got Tommy on is because Tommy has massively helped me out on this, and he has built Bob himself, the Wicker Man. So I believe, if I recall this correctly, Tommy, you messaged me, didn't you, a few weeks ago to say that you were building Wicker Man, and would I be interested in using it? And when I saw the picture, I was I almost bit your hand off, because it looks like a pain in the backside to try and build.
Yeah, well, a lot of pieces, a lot of advanced moving pieces, and turning them ever so slightly. But I think it came out half decent.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, the sort of the lifelikeness of it is second to none. I mean, how did you go about sort of getting the shape and the head, the head and the horns and?
So I started with like a mound of terrain. Just use the terrain. I shaped the terrain as much as I could into the shape, and then I built a coaster through the terrain, and then I started on the body, kind of laying it down on this bit of terrain, and then with the head I kind of got lots of pictures, and just went from there, really, just placing planks. I mean, it took a while to see what I was building, but once you got the kind of scale and shape of it, it gets easier. But it was just finding stuff that worked well, because there are planks in there, but I've used other little bits and bobs like brackets and stuff, especially for the horns, and just mashed them all together.
Yeah. I mean, and then obviously there's ropes and things at the back there, and then you've even got fence pieces here for the eyes. So like I say, it looks ridiculously accurate, and that was. It's always going to be the main centerpiece of that. So thank you again for letting me use that. And then obviously once you sent that to me, it was a case of kind of just adding along the planks to get down to the right size over how I built the coaster. So it's never going to be that straightforward to do. But no, I'm, like I say, really happy with how that turns out. So. Yeah, thank you very much for letting me use that. So I think we'll have a quick scan round the coaster, and then we'll take a ride on it. So obviously the queue line, I spent ages building this fence. It's just like because the path isn't a cattle pen queue line for Wicker Man. It's all windy paths. So the first bit is kind of like an extension or like an overflow path when it gets quite busy. So I've got that down there, and then it is a bit of a cattle pen in here with a few of the flags, and then before that after that you go up and around the coaster. Have you how many times have you been on Wicker Man yourself?
Probably about 6 times.
Right. Yeah. So you've got a fairly good good account of it then. To go on, because obviously up here the coaster kind of comes around quite up close to the queue line, down, and then it drops down underneath the lift hill, and it's really noisy around here because this chain is constantly going. That bit is always really noisy, down and underneath, and then you go back up before you head inside, which we'll take a look at shortly. The other thing I wanted to look at was the tunnels. Now, I know I was talking to you before we started recording this of the 2 different types of tunnels I did. So I started off with this one, which is using projector screens, and then obviously I was looking at this bend, and I was thinking, projector screens are going to be quite difficult on a bend, so I went with a wooden effect, using the wooden scaffolding as well. And I'd like people's thoughts on whether you prefer the projector screen style. Admittedly, it still needs tidying up. There's bits that are sort of like overhanging there that I just need to neaten up, but we'll get to that. So between that and the wooden style, Tommy, what's your thoughts between those two?
I mean, the plank wooden on the twist is, it has that kind of rugged edge, which it kind of has the feel to the whole coaster anyways.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture the real life sound tunnel on the ride, but personally, for me, I'd probably go with the planks. But I mean, like you say, whatever's really easiest and does the job.
Yeah, I mean, it was for this one. Obviously, it is just a straight run, pretty much. So that was a lot easier with the screens. On that, it isn't. But I think I agree with you. I think I do like the wooden plank style better. But as I say, I'll see what the general feedback is on that, and see where we go from there. But obviously, I'll change that before the final park tour, and then everything else. There's a bit of a service building down here, which is obviously next to the Wicker Man itself, and then over here there's another service building, and then there is a road that leads back out onto the path, which we will be building in the next couple of weeks. So I think that is pretty much everything to point out. There's a bit of wooden fencing around the side of here where the coaster banks round, and then also to point out where the access road goes underneath here. I've kind of carried on because you can't turn the supports off without turning the sort of guardrails here off. So I've had to build my own, and when you look at it, you can tell, but at like distance, I think it's quite well hidden without looking at them. So yeah, there's 3 different sections there, and then there is one on the lift hill just there that you can obviously see. But yeah, we'll go down here and into the station. So into the queue line. So in here, it's just kind of an indoor room, and then you go into a showroom that has the Wicker Man on the wall. So again, use your Wicker Man head there. I know it looks a little bit big, but bearing in mind in real life it's a projection screen. Have you ever seen the projection, by the way? I've been on it 3 times. I've only ever seen it once, and that was because of COVID, because they weren't locking people in the room. Have you?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched it?
I think first time I think I rode it within the first week it opened, and I'm sure I saw it definitely then. I think I've seen it pretty much every time, because obviously they did lock you in this room at one point.
Yeah.
And you had to watch it before you could enter the next room. But like you say, I did go on it in the COVID times, and you kind of just fly through this room. But
yeah.
I'm sure I've definitely seen it a couple of times at least.
Yeah, but it's a really well themed queue line. The whole ride itself, to be fair, is a great theme. But yeah, so this is the station. I've used lots of the western fencing to make this wall here, because I thought that was the closest I could get to the wall that's kind of on the back of the station there, and then just obviously lots of fire. And the control booth there. So these have just got on. So we'll have a quick ride on Wicker Man. And yeah, well, other than that, we'll see what you think once we've got off. and then obviously at the end of the ride you get stuck in this tunnel as you wait permission to come back round. You just sit in the pitch black, don't you, when you're waiting on the side at the end of that ride. No, yeah. What were your thoughts on that overall?
No, I really liked it. It kept the momentum, which I've struggled with the coaster layout. It just seemed to not pick up the speed that the actual ride has, especially in that middle section after the first drop. Like once it's done the first run through the actual Bob himself, but you've managed to keep up that pace, and it was smooth, and it's true to the layout as well. So yeah, really great job, to be honest.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, it's another one of those things where the mechanics of the game aren't quite realistic in terms of how quick coasters and rides can sometimes drop speed. So obviously I've had to use the friction. I've had to drop the friction on it. So what am I on friction? I'm on 0.4 for the friction multiplier. So I've dropped that down from 1, which has helped to do that, because once I built it and I'd left it at 1, it just was not going very fast at all. It was getting round, but it just wasn't going very fast. So yeah, definitely had to drop that down. But no, yeah, like I say, really happy with how it's turned out. It's not a straightforward coaster layout to get right, and it's not a straightforward area, but and lots of wooden fencing as well. And the fact as well, I'm on 75% on a PS5, and that's it's got one coaster and a boat ride, and then a flat ride, and that's it. So it's there's a lot of pieces gone into it. I think, to be fair, when you take Bob out, which is 6,751 pieces, if you look at the percentage at the bottom, that drops down by 9% just for the Wicker Man itself, and then you can see it get built again. So yeah, it's a lot of pieces, it's a lot of percentage, but it's worthwhile for sure. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me, Tommy. Really appreciate that, and thank you once again for your work on Bob there.
You're welcome.
And yeah, so next episode we'll be sort of building around this side, going towards Katanga Canyon. I hate saying that area of the park, because I always get my tongue twisted with it. But yeah, heading towards Katanga Canyon, where we have the River Rapids and the Runaway Train as the next two rides to be coming in future episodes. But yeah, if you have enjoyed that, please do give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you are new. And I shall see you in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.